All right, now it's time for Marvel in the 90s. Nope. Sorry, Marvel in the 90s still ain't coming back. Ha! But I'm not messing with you. Instead, we have Marvel in the 80s. What is the show called? It's called Marvel in the 80s. And today we're talking about Marvel Fanfare number 18. This is an issue we're talking about because Thursday night when I was chatting with Joe Corallo, he mentioned this one single issue as one of his favorite Captain America stories as being quintessentially Captain America. I think it was something he talked about recently on a show with Perch or something. I don't remember. I actually tried to go back on that conversation and find it, but I couldn't. But anyway, the artwork is done by Frank Miller, and so is that cover. The cover's great. I love that cover. The story is by Roger Stern, and Joe Rubinstein is the inker, the finisher. So the story's kind of simple. It's about the series of arson, right? This arsonist. All these buildings are getting burned up. Captain America's in the middle of it. So it starts off, Captain America's like in the midst of one of them, and he saves some people, and there's some nice artwork by Frank Miller there. And then the fire commissioner or whatever says, yo, you got to help us. And of course, Cap's like, of course I'm going to help you, right? And I love this Frank Miller artwork. This is like 1984, right? So this is right just a couple years before the publication of Dark Knight Returns. This is still in that Daredevil style, and the Joe Rubinstein influence on it is impeccable. Some really great stuff. So then we meet this dude. He's just a normal, like, blue-collar worker kind of guy. He's got a family, and Captain America's out there trying to find this arsonist, and he sees this dude, and he's like, man, I wish I could have a family. That's what I'm protecting. I'm protecting the average American like that. Turns out this dude is the guy who's in charge of these dudes who are doing the arsonry. They're the ones setting all these buildings on fire. And there's a dude there who's also a cop. We found that out in the last page right there, the cop down at the bottom. He shows up, he's like, yo, so now we want to catch a nursing home on fire? I'm not cool with that. And they're like, yo, we're going to kill you if you're not with us. It starts getting really serious. So he has to go along with it. So Captain America shows up when the nursing home's on fire. He tries to save this elderly couple, and he loses the woman. There's some great storytelling right there by Roger Stern, by Frank Miller. Look at that. Look at that sequence. We talk about 9-panel pages, y'all. You realize that's a 15-panel page. And look how much gets done. Look how it's not overly wordy. Look how they just work with the eyes. They work with the expression. They work with the pacing. That's why Frank Miller is so amazing. Okay? So then, if you look back on the bottom of the last page, then you set up the next scene as well. You deal with the death, you deal with the emotional ramification and the resonance of it, and then you set up the next scene. Cap sees a police badge. So that badge leads him to find the dude who didn't want to go along with it, and a great scene right there where he throws the shield, crashes the car. He's leaping out of the panel, kind of Kirby-esque right there, and basically, he spills everything. He's like, yo, this dude's in charge. So Cap shows up into the dude's house, starts just beating the shit out of him, and then all of a sudden his son, the dude's son, is hitting him. And Cap's like, this is the family. This is the family that I saw earlier. Oh, my goodness. And he gets kind of struck by it. So he gets the dude to take him to all the rest of the people who have done the fire making, the arsonry, right? And then the dude's like, I'm never going to jail. I'm not going to let my son have a dad who went to jail. And he just jumps into the flames and just like causes this explosion and he dies. And then Captain America's like, you know, they tell him like, don't worry about him, Cap. There's nothing you could have done. And Cap goes, no one else will die from this madness. And he lets everybody, they get out. And then he's like, yo, we got everyone. He goes, everyone? No, you're wrong. She's still in there. And he goes in and he gets the American flag. And then he gives a nice speech. And it's not a speech that's overly done, but it so essentially captures what Captain America is and what he represents. He says, talking about the flag, he says, this belongs to all of us, but it's not for free. And it doesn't come easy. It's America. America doesn't hand you things on a silver platter. Sometimes all we offer is hope. And now I have to think of some way to bring hope to this dude's family. Like, that's pretty powerful. It's pretty cool. Seriously, the work done by Frank Miller, pretty solid, pretty awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. So here's the copy I picked up, and I told everybody I was going to go to my shop and find this. I found a beat-up copy of it. It was the only one we had. And Brian wanted it real bad, but I didn't care. I got it anyway. Joe told me to read it, so I read it, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. We also have this really nice Frank Miller. This is more of that Dark Knight Returns style, and you see that on the cover. So I love this as an exploration of the evolution of Frank Miller's style. Look at the cover. Look at the back. That is totally what's about to happen. That's like the bridge to Dark Knight Returns from his Daredevil work. And look at the amazing composition. The way he tells the story. Look at the finishes by Joe Rubinstein. Absolutely brilliant stuff. He's the guy who inked Miller on the Claremont Wolverine miniseries. Really good stuff. Great action scenes. The book itself is very well put together. There's no ads in it. It's got a nice cover. It's from the 80s. It's got this nice bit where the editor's like telling you, like, goofed up Chris Claremont didn't file his story in time, so he has to do 2 artist portfolios. And if you are interested, we got a Kevin Nolan portfolio. They're all chicks. So there's Dagger, and there's a Black Widow, and I love that Black Widow costume. That's that 80s and 90s era. There's a Red Sonja and a Phoenix. An interesting style choice from Kevin Nolan there. There's Frankie Ray's Nova and She-Hulk. And then we got Terry Austin. Terry Austin, we got a little bit of a Doctor Doom. We got a Black Widow again. Really like that Black Widow. It gives me Hunger vibes. Then we've got some of the X-Women. Kitty, Lockheed, of course, Rogue, and Mohawk Storm, and Cloak and Dagger. This is pretty cool. I wish Marvel would do something like this again. And then we got Thor with Ziggy and, what's his name? Silly. Like old school humor, whatever. It's a nice package. It's a nice book. I don't think it's too expensive to find. So if you do find it, it's definitely worth picking up. It's a nice one-and-done Captain America story with some Frank Miller, Joe Rubinstein artwork, and a nice story by Roger Stern that doesn't hit like super resonantly or anything like that, but it's a nice like encapsulation of what a good solid Captain America story is going to do. And that, by the way, was the debut episode of Marvel in the 80s.